counselor. There's some really big slick companies out there, and they tend to have names like Crimson or Ivy Max or whatever, something that gives you the suggestion that they're somehow connected to um, the colleges that they're trying to get their students into. So that from their branding and everything, and they're going to really kind of push that. Don't be misled. The most important thing when you're working with a college counselor is what are their qualifications and record, rather than what the sort of the shiny marketing materials of the company. What are their qualifications and what is their record? Which is to say, who, what schools have they gotten their clients into? That's really important. I mean, not everybody that comes to me is in the top 2%, but let's say they're in the top 20%, so they're not at the very top. I will get them into the best schools that they can get into for their academic record. I can't create a magical situation for them and change all their grades. But what I can do is help them do as well as possible given their own academic record and achievements. It's going to be a little so you want to really think about what are the qualifications and record of the person you're choosing. The other thing you want to think about is how able, how experienced are they to help these two different categories of students, younger students and older students. If, for example, you're in ninth grade, which is a great time to get started with this process, and you're meeting occasionally with me and also with, say, somebody, an advisor at school, this is the time to help build strengths and address weaknesses. Meaning, like, say somebody is just starting to realize they're into computer science, or they're just starting to realize they're into writing, etc., but they don't have a lot of background. This is where I can help advise you about programs that you can do and extracurriculars to start developing those strengths. Let's say you're great at math, but you're terrible at English and writing. When you're younger, this is the time where a college counselor can start giving you resources for dealing with the weakness. You're not a good writer. How do you improve? So the college counselor is really going to be somebody who should be able to help you with that stuff. And for older students, it's, you have to just focus on choosing colleges and on the essays, because you can't go back and start doing all the stuff you should have done in ninth or 10th grade. So the focus is going to be on finding somebody who knows a ton about different universities. Sometimes people are applying to schools in Canada and Britain. I know about all of those different kinds of schools. So you want to choose somebody who really knows the universities well, and can also has a great writing expertise that can help you with that. So keep all those things in mind. And frankly, the last thing is you want somebody that you can trust. I have, seen people in the past that they're getting advice from their parents, they're getting advice from their English teacher, they're getting advice from their college counselor, they're getting advice from me, and they don't know who to trust. You want to choose somebody that you absolutely, as your college counselor and essay editor, it's somebody that you're going to say, I take this person's advice over the other people. Because at a certain point, you can't take everybody's advice or you're going to have a terrible essay, right? It's like, imagine you're baking a cake and everybody's putting the ingredients that they want in it. It may have some great ingredients, but the cake probably is not going to be very good because there's too many cooks, too many bakers that are putting their ingredients. So you want to, choose somebody that you trust enough to say, I'm going to go with that person's advice, regardless of what the parent says or regardless of what this college counselor says, because I have to trust somebody as the primary person. So when you're choosing a college counselor, you want to make sure that, all these things come together, the qualifications, the record, they're able to help with choosing colleges, and really somebody that you trust as an editor. Next thing. So we were just kind of giving a sense of what Claire and I were talking about this and thinking about what is really the difference between a small and a specialized versus a large college counseling company. And I've had actually the experience myself where I was thinking of working for one of these large companies. And so I was able to interview with the different departments and get a sense of who works at these places and who's there. Some of them, they'll hire people that were college counselors at different universities, and they'll say, we'll only choose people that were college counselor at Columbia or Princeton, etc. And so you're like, okay, that's great. That is going to be the best thing that I can have. But just because somebody worked at this place at, say, Columbia and knows what a good application is, it doesn't mean that they can help you actually write the best essay themselves, because they're not writers, they're admissions counselors. So it's really important that you're going to get specialized counselors that have experience, right? They're not 23 years old and right out of college themselves, and that are going to be able to give you that attention. So it's not a big company with a ton of different people. Sometimes you'll get this person, sometimes you'll get that person, but it's going to be, you have somebody you really trust. You're going to get the one-to-one attention. When you email them, you're going to expect a response the next day or in a few hours, as opposed to a few days later, right? You're going to get that attention when they're there. They're really going to be able to help you improve those essays and devote the time. So I think that's really important, that you're going to get an extremely experienced counselor. As I mentioned, some of the bigger companies, like when I was talking to them, I was kind of amazed, because they'd be like, I graduated from UC Berkeley. I'm like, yeah, me too. And they're like, well, I just graduated from college like last year, which is really great, but that does not give you any experience at all. And so, so if you work with us, you're going to get people that really, they've got the experience, and that's super important. They have the results, etc. This is, I think, one of the most important things too, is niche areas. By niche areas, we mean like these really specialized areas. When most of the people here, they're going to be applying to a particular, well, everybody's going to have a major in mind, but you're going to want to go with people who understand that. So we, between all of us, we really have this expertise for pre-med. Claire's got, people that are in the medical profession are going to know what sorts of things you need to do to prepare for it, what some of the issues are now in terms of the fields that are hot, how to prepare for them in terms of extracurriculars, in terms of research, etc., and help us to really gear the application for that. Law, business, I have a lot of experience with business in particular applications, because for the business degrees, you often have to have different kinds of materials where you're sort of testing out a business, doing a pitch for one, talking about marketing a product, etc. Like, it's going to be very specialized stuff. Same thing with the arts. So I have a lot of experience with helping students in different kinds of arts, from everything from illustration to fashion, graphic design, etc. You're not necessarily going to get that from different people. That happens to be something that's my specialty. And then, of course, the humanities. So those are the areas that we have a lot of expertise in, as opposed to just being like, here's your team of 23-year-olds that just graduated from college that don't really necessarily know anything about these industries because they just finished their majors themselves. So again, that goes back to experience. And then in terms of value for your money, you're going to get as much experience as possible for your money, as opposed to kind of paying a lot for not a great product. So I think when you're working with small, you're not paying for all the marketing and branding and the administration. So that these are all things I think that are really important to keep in mind. Like I said, whether you go with us or somebody else, is that you want this kind of specialized expertise, the one-to-one attention, and that you're not just paying a ton of money for not getting a whole lot back.
I definitely so I was in the same boat as the parents today, right, who joined. So I think what I would suggest is start earlier, like Jacqueline's time. I think it's a proper time. Typically, you start writing the essay during the summertime. That give you enough time to think it through. In our situation, we started in summer as well, writing the essay, but we had the first version actually like none of us liked it, but we couldn't, we didn't have better idea during that time. So we submitted for EDEA schools, and then the result came out, and then we realized that something's wrong. Then we shared the essay with the other colleagues, and two of them completely different, but they gave us pretty much a similar feedback. Then we realized the essay has to be rewritten. That's the time we found Dr. Neil, right? But you try to avoid things like that, right? You want, I heard that now mentioned, like you could have multiple versions for different type of a school, but that's very time consuming as well. I think most of the kids that I know don't have that time for that many essay or different versions of essay. It's really, depending on which kids, right? But if you don't have enough time, especially the last senior year, it's very busy. They're very busy, and the course are pretty much the most challenging ones, right? So you try to have a common essay, which can hopefully can be applied to all the schools, and you can tweak a little bit, but not the majority of it. That's just my, experience share with us.
Thank you, Jean.
For me, only thing I would like to add is that you will know that you're in good hands with with Dr. Neil in every possible way. Yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you, Jean and Jacqueline, again for coming to the webinar and help our today's parents. As you said, we are in the same boat. So it's really good to hear from people who, went through the process.